Hello, good people. Welcome to our show. Hello, bad people. Welcome to our show. Hello, anyone who want to learn more about content marketing and website improvements. Welcome. Today we are going to discuss how you can create content that stand out from the rest, how you can improve your website performance. I'm so excited to discuss this topic with Andrew Schulkind. How are you?
I'm very well, Anatoly. I'm very excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited because I want to learn more. I love it. I'm student on this live, so people can think that I have this podcast to promote my business. No way. I'm learning. I'm learning with you. Okay, Andrew, before we start, just tell more about yourself, experience, background, and anything that can help our listeners to learn more about you.
Sure. Andrew Schulkind is my name. The company is Andigo. Andigo.com is our website. We work with mission-driven businesses, mostly B2B companies in the $2 to $25 million range. And as you've already alluded to, we do website development and design work and content marketing and the strategy that underpins all of that.
Nice, awesome, awesome. Let's talk about design. The last time I spent so much time about and care a lot about design because it's important to be simple, and I like design from apple.com or google.com. Very simple, very simple, but I often see when companies create hard hard design, and customers don't know what to click, where to go. Can you tell about simplicity, how to simplify the experience in design sphere, and how to find the balance between selling, for example, on apple.com, if I open the main page, I can see only iPhone, nothing else. I can't find MacBook, AirPod, Apple Watch, because Apple gets plus 40% from by selling iPhones. So Apple doesn't try to sell a MacBook, but you can find if you scroll down or click to other buttons. So can you tell about paying attention to priorities, to skip the rest, don't confuse customers, and create simple design?
Sure. First, I'll give a shout out to a great book that has been in print for, I don't know how long, 20 years maybe, called Don't Make Me Think by a fellow named Steve Krug, Krug. And definitely well worth the read, kind of thing that's sitting around in the office here somewhere, all dog eared, because I go back to it so often. And the idea of simplicity is sort of what underpins that whole book. And I think our approach to design as well. You really want to make it simple enough for your audience to understand where they're going and how to get there without having to think about it. That's not the point. It's not, they're not there to try and figure things out. They're trying to get answers to some problem that they're trying to solve. That's the only reason they're on your website. So design doesn't need to be thought about in the same way as if your audience is a bunch of designers who are going to be very picky about the kinds of things they look at. Your design, which doesn't mean that simple is easy. I'm not trying to say that, but your design needs to just feel right for the audience that you have in mind. So I would certainly say number one rule on this is beyond don't make me think is don't do this by committee. Hire just a good designer or trust the designer you have in house, whoever's doing the work, trust that they know what they're doing and let them do it. Get out of the way.
Nice. And can you tell how to find a good designer? It's like not simple task to hire anyone. And I spend so much time to find great designers, but people usually chase the price. I think it's a big mistake. Good designers charge a lot because they
Yeah.
have this experience. They can provide a lot more. So can you tell your ways how to find great designers?
Yeah, that's a really good question. For us, it's all about our network and the folks that we have worked with for years. A couple of designers I work with, we have worked with for more than 15 years together. So that can certainly be helpful. There are surprisingly good resources on websites out there that have a lot of marketing kind of folks out there. And I would certainly reach out to others in the marketing field to see who they've worked with that they like and they feel might be a good fit for what you're trying to do. Above all else, I think you want to make sure that you're hiring a graphic design professional, not an artist who dabbles in graphic design, not someone who does packaging design and is thinking about getting into websites, right? They're all very closely related, but they're different enough that you're probably not going to get the results you want if that's the direction you go.
Mhm. Uh, I wanna ask about finding the balance between content that we can find on Amazon and Apple. For example, on Apple.com, I can see simple design, but Amazon sells billion products, and I think like if I search for a new product, I can get all stages of sales funnel from top to bottom. I can find reviews, descriptions, pictures, videos, price, anything in one page. And sometimes I don't need to research more. But it works for Amazon because Amazon can sell a lot of products. People know the structure. And I see this trap when new websites try to replicate Amazon. Sometimes it's not a good idea. So can you tell how to find this balance between Apple and Amazon?
I think I've never heard this question before, and it's really an interesting one. The first thing that came to mind when you said it is, well, how aware are you of where in the buying process or your sales funnel is the person who's just come to your website? And I think there's a big difference almost baked right into Apple and Amazon, where Apple, there's a good chance folks are already pretty far into that. They've already decided that they're not getting a Samsung phone or a Nokia phone. They're going to get an iPhone, or they're going to get a MacBook and not a PC, or whatever the case may be. So they're already there, and they're far enough through that now it's just, hey, what specs do I want? What color do I want? And things like that. Whereas on Amazon, there's a much bigger universe, and I'm looking for I don't know, a license plate holder for my car, or whatever the case may be, rechargeable batteries. I'm not sure. I'm trying to think of things I've bought on Amazon recently, and that's a very different kind of web page than what Apple needs to do to be effective. So I think that more than anything, when you're trying to strike that balance between that very clean design and sort of a minimalist approach, and Amazon, which has got a lot, a very information-rich page in most of those pages. You've just got to think about who your audience is, what kind of information they're looking for. And there's a reasonable chance that you're not going to have pages of either extreme, but you'll have pages that sort of run a good bit of the spectrum, from very simple to much more in depth, depending on where that page is on your website and who you expect to be looking at it.
Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. We need to learn customers before creating any content to understand
Yes.
about them. Andrew, I wanna ask about content marketing. What I usually see when companies create a huge list of topics for content marketing, but have limited resources, like 1, 2 copywriters in their team, probably designers, and it's hard to create a lot of high quality content at scale, and it's important to choose priorities. For example, sometimes I can write an article for a few weeks because I have no time, many other things to do. So priorities. Can you tell how to prioritize content plan? Your methods, how to do it? Because, for example, if I choose the wrong way, sometimes, for example, what I usually see when companies chase high volume, they find topics on SEMrush, Google Keyword Planner, Ahrefs, Moz, many great tools. They see high volume, but it's hard. It's really hard to compete with big brands in the top 10 that deserve these ranking positions. It's hard to sell by having these keywords. For example, once I spoke with Webmaster who lost 400,000 traffic, a lot of traffic, because Google dropped his ranking positions, but he didn't lose any sales. So he got a lot of traffic that didn't convert, didn't sell. So can you tell how to find the right content plan for content marketing and choose priorities?
I love that story of someone losing all the traffic they didn't want, but none of the traffic they did want. That's fantastic. You don't hear that very often. Well, let's see. I would start from an implementation standpoint before getting to, I don't know, strategies or the research you need to do to make sure you're pointed in the right direction in terms of keywords. And for me, systems and processes are so important. You just mentioned not having written an article in a couple of weeks because you don't have time. And ideally, you put systems and processes in place so that you avoid that. So it's not like, hey, it's Tuesday afternoon. I'm supposed to be posting a blog post now. I better think about what I'm going to write. All that should be done in advance. And you should ideally have something ready well before your deadline, but also have a system in place that you're thinking not just about this article, because that becomes, sort of haphazard, but instead are thinking about a system of content. Who are you writing for? Where do you need content? You probably have a couple of different audience segments, and in each of those audience segments, you have the kind of content that will appeal to people who have just learned about you, people who know a little bit about you, and people who already trust you enough that now they're considering you as an option for solving their problem. All different kinds of content, and you should be creating those kinds of content in all those, sort of a matrix, right? Different steps in the sales process, different verticals, different industries that might be using it, and of course, different products and services that you're selling. That's one of the keys, I would say, to making sure you've got great content.
Yeah, nice, nice. And what for you great content means, because it's subjective. When I write an article, I can feel it's the best article ever. It's my biased opinion, and I'm pretty sure Google has own algorithm to figure out people can find better articles. So, can you tell about great content? What does it mean? Because it's a generic question, but I often get this question from my audience. They don't know how to measure the quality of content, because we can measure, I don't know, like domain authority, page authority, but nobody knows how to measure the quality of content.
Yeah. Well, when I think about this, I think about Hollywood blockbuster movies. And when I put something out there that I think is going to be great and it just doesn't get the engagement I'm expecting, my first thought is, well, at least I didn't spend $100 million on that. Right. So there's something about how things hit and how things appear to an audience differently than they do to creators that is in some way unknowable, right? Like, the people who spent $100 million on a flop didn't do it because they thought it was going to be a flop. And of course, we don't spend time writing stuff that we think is great for any other reason than we think it's great. And of course, it's okay that not every piece of content you create you think is great, but don't be surprised when something you're like, hey, that's solid, but I'm not sure it's the best thing I've ever written, all of a sudden gets a lot of traction. Gets a lot of action, gets a lot of love from the search engines and from social media, etc. So I think you've got to experiment and have, sort of check your ego a bit and be humble about it, because you just never know what is going to work or isn't. I mean, within bounds, right? Things that are poorly written or poorly researched or are rife with typos and grammatical errors and things like that's just, that's just basic price of getting in the door. You've got to have all of that. But after that, you just have to pay attention to, hey, this worked or this didn't, and try and tease out a little bit what your audience is interested in, and what, just as importantly, especially for SEO purposes, what the competitive landscape looks like. If that, you can write something great, but if there's already a lot of great stuff just like it out there, you're going to have trouble unseating who's ever incumbent in the, in that first search engine results page.
Yeah, love it, valuable. I wanna ask about B2B. I love reading marketing books, and many great books were written before digital. But when I read them, I can feel that all insights are related to digital, because human psychology is the same. Nothing changed. People are still people. They are looking for value. But if you share value, it doesn't mean that you can retain your audience. It's important to keep the attention and
I think I'm losing you a little bit there, Anatoly, or perhaps you're losing me. But there's definitely a a lag at the moment. Well, it looks like I've lost Anatoly, and since we're live, I'll continue trying to, I hope, provide a little bit of value for the audience and vamp here a little bit. There are a handful of questions that Anatoly. Oh, he's back.
Yeah, sorry for that. Yeah, I'm back. I want to ask about how to retain audience longer. For example, okay, if I share value, but we need to entertain a little bit. I mean, like, it's not to share jokes or to be funny. I mean, like, to be non-boring. I remember once I spoke with Jim Edwards, and he worked in Business Insider in 10 years. He started on this company from scratch. Then company was sold for $500 million. Great success. And he told me that success of Business Insider depends on creating non-boring content. And I think it's important to share, to be non-boring when you create content. You can share value, but if it's boring, people bounce fast. We have data everywhere. People bounce without hesitation, never get back. So tell your methods how to retain the audience until the end.
Well, I want to talk a little bit first about this idea of boring, right? So
Yeah.
I agree 100%. Boring is not good, but there are too many people who think that the B2B industry that they work in is boring. And that's just not the case. You can present anything boring, just about, right? And anything that is critical to my business's success is not boring. So I think first we have to separate that out, and then focus on the content that you're creating. I think part of not being boring is, especially for small businesses who are the folks that we work with most frequently, is understanding that people already know that you are not a Fortune 500 company. You are not an international conglomerate. And trying to speak in the language that they speak in so often, which is, very formal and third person and, just very inward focused, is just not going to succeed for you. I'm not sure these days it succeeds very well for them. And I think a lot of folks, certainly financial institutions, are coming around to a more outward looking kind of marketing. And I think that if you are authentic and let your personality show through and are consistent in how you present your ideas, whether you're a cheeky person or a more a quieter personality, that'll come out in your writing, and people will either like it or not. You can't make everyone like it, but there are different folks in the world. I mean, everyone knows Gary Vee, right? And not everyone in the world can drop a train of F-bombs the way he can and retain an audience. You've got to sort of be who you are and not try and pretend to be someone else. And you'll find the people who like you, and you'll lose the people who won't. And that's kind of the point. You can't be all things to all people.
Mm-hmm. What I like in Gary Vee, he has a strong opinion about consistency, and he highlights a few times about to create more quantity than quality. It's quite different with common thinking, and many marketers can tell quality is more important, less but quality. But Gary Vee thinks another way, and I understand why, because Gary Vee, you can't create quality without creating a lot of quantity, and many great book authors usually write a lot every single day. It doesn't mean they will publish everything they wrote. It's like training, like Cristiano Ronaldo or Leo Messi can hit the ball 1,000 times a day, but they play only in competition in the weekend when people can watch. So we see the results. So can you tell how to improve the skills? Like Gary Vee, he usually posts a lot on all social media, get great success, and have different way with consistency that many marketers can ignore.
Yeah, I think there are a couple of pieces to that puzzle. One, I don't know who had said it first, but this brings me back to the idea of the only way to have great ideas is to have a lot of ideas. So you should be thinking all the time about the kind of content that you want to create for your marketing, and you should be trying to create a lot of it. I've got, and I think a lot of marketers have an ideas file things that are, maybe just a title or maybe just a single sentence, or maybe it's a couple of paragraphs already. And some of them will never see the light of day, and that's fine. I think it's great to develop that to a point that you can and see what happens, review it from time to time as things in your industry change and maybe other ideas, bring something else to the fore. I will stick maybe with the conventional wisdom that goes against Gary Vee and say, you do fewer things and do them well, right? You don't have to be on every social media channel, and you shouldn't be, especially if you're not active there and you don't know sort of the ethos and sort of what the vibe is, then don't do it. But at the same time, if you put the same systems and processes that we were talking about a few minutes ago in place, it's a lot easier to take the content that you create, the basic idea, and adapt it for different channels pretty quickly, so that you can easily and efficiently be active on more social media channels than you might think. But the key is making sure you've got those systems, those processes in place so that you can do it efficiently.
Yeah. By the way, about being everywhere, I think Gary Vee started on Twitter as well, and he shared a lot that he spent from 7 p.m. to 3 a.m. Around 7 years without day offs. So he spent so much time on Twitter. Then he jumped on YouTube to create this show about wine. And today he has a team who can help him to create content, to repurpose content everywhere. So if you have two hands like I have, and I tried. I tried to create content on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, but my best results were like 500 views, 5 followers a day. Then I switched all my attention to LinkedIn, even without repurposing content, and I got like plus 300 followers a day. Some posts get 300,000 views because of paying attention to one specific social media. And I found many great influencers, they did it as well. They didn't try to cover on all social media, but when you have resources, when you have a team who can help you with that, so why not? Yeah, you can cover all social media like Gary Vee, but don't do it in the beginning. It's better to become the best in one social media. Andrew, I want to ask about creativity. Let me share a short story about Lloyd Richards. He published a book 11 years ago, and he spent, it's interesting about the story that he spent 14 years to write this book. 14 years. It's more than a decade to write a single book. Then he published this book, and he couldn't sell for a long time, around 11 years. Then his daughter posted content on TikTok about this book, short video, and this video became viral. Plus 50 million people watched this video, and today this book is bestseller on Amazon. Of course, I watched this video because I want to know how to get plus 50 million people. And what I found, it's so creative. It's not like nice looking design, nothing special, but it's creative. His daughter found the way how to present this book, how to present this short story that author spent 14 years to write a book. And can you tell about creativity? Because I see a lot of generic marketing messages that use many times. Customers are not interested with that. So any tips about creativity, how to become creative in your marketing?
Well, let's see. I think that, first of all, there are too many people, kind of like I was talking earlier about, so many people think that the industry they work in, because it's some B2B industry and, sort of an old insurance or something like that, that it's necessarily boring. And I think a lot of people look at creativity and think that's only for the people in the art department and musicians and painters and I think that's kind of silly. That's a kind of creativity, that artistic creativity, but there are many other kinds of creativity. And if you give yourself the space to start thinking about that in that way, you can be very creative. You can, and you also have to have a little bit of courage, and you've got to have, I guess, a little bit of leeway from either your own company's finances, if you're running your own company, or from your boss to be like, hey, efficiency isn't our goal today, it's effectiveness. So let's think about some ideas, and not all of them are going to be great, and not all of them are going to see the light of day, just like the content I was talking about earlier. But some of those ideas really are going to be great, and they're going to be the things that break through the clutter, that help you stand out. And I don't know if they'll get you 50 million followers on TikTok, but they will, or 50 million views rather. They'll certainly help you break out of whatever rut you might be in. So think a little bit more expansively about what creativity is and what it means, and be willing to experiment a bit.
Yeah, without testing, experiment, you can't be creative, because everyone starts with best practices, then we can test, experiment, and find another way. Andrew, I want to ask about your strong side. It's interesting. I found all marketers have some strong side, weak side. Can you tell why customers need to cooperate with you? Why you are better than many other million marketers that we have today?
Yeah. Well, let's see. I am a writer at heart, and what's central to me is the message. So back in the day, I had some pretty decent coding skills. I don't do that anymore, but know just enough to ask questions that some of my coders might not like to hear. And I'm certainly nobody's idea of a graphic designer. So for me, it's all about message. And I'll tell you a little bit of story. We started this company early enough that, we were doing CD-ROMs before we were doing websites. And then we started doing websites. And I think we were pretty undifferentiated. We were like a lot of other development shops out there. And it was when the search engines started paying attention to some of the black hat techniques that were going on. White text on a white background was sort of a favorite back then. People trying to get their page to the top of the search engine's results pages. And the search engines fought back by putting more emphasis on on-page content. And for us, that was the sort of watershed moment. So it all came together for us because now we had all those skills and we were able to apply them in a way that really had benefit for our clients. And the fact that we are so focused on message typically means that even if we aren't doing SEO or pay-per-click advertising or video production, our approach is very open to incorporating those ideas and making sure that everything is really well coordinated. So you're not just doing this piece of content for content marketing, or you're not just doing that landing page to improve your website. We're doing all of it sort of as part of a system. And hopefully in a way that, the sum of the parts, the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, or whatever that phrase is.
Yeah, nice. For example, if you ask me to write an article about digital marketing, SEO, I can write a good piece. But if you ask me to write an article about investing, weight loss, how to play guitar, I can't. I can't. That's why we usually outsource great writers. And it's a big struggle today to find writers who can write about specific topic. If you help customers to create great content, can you tell how to outsource or find writers who can create something new, special, and stand out from the rest?
Yeah, that can be a little bit of a challenge, particularly in our world where the content isn't attributed, right? Like you go to a website and you don't really know who wrote it, and you've got to do a little bit of research into that. So we have colleagues that we work with, and we look at their work and like, hey, who wrote that? And, would you share them with us? And I think there's a lot of that. Again, relationships matter, and seeing people's work, that really matters. There's not typically a lot of room for experimentation where someone's really going to stand out on their own. So for me, that's important. And I think depending on the project, you may want to stick with someone who has domain knowledge, right? Particularly in areas that are heavily regulated. We've done a lot of work in finance and in pharmaceuticals, and you really better know the lay of the land, and you better know the sort of acronym soup that you're going to have to put up with, and understand that there are regulatory and legal reviews, and in the case of pharmaceuticals, there's medical reviews before anything, even the simplest, one sentence tagline goes out. It's going to be reviewed, and it's just going to waste a lot of time if you're not up to speed on that. But in other areas, it's great to get someone who's got a new perspective, who's never worked in something like how to play the guitar, as you just pointed out. Clearly, they need to have domain expertise there as well, but a fresh perspective from someone who is typically looking at things from a different field, that can be valuable as well.
Nice, awesome. Andrew, I wanna ask about mistakes. In my life, I made a lot of mistakes. Some of them terrible, some of them slight mistakes, but I keep doing them because I don't know how to start something new without doing mistakes. For example, I started PR and I wrote a bunch of press releases, pitched all of them, got 0 mentions, 0 links, nothing. Then, but I learned how this process works. I hired specialists who can write press releases, great press releases. I hired specialists who can pitch them, and we got mentioned on CNN, Forbes, Business Insider, many other great websites because of creating this process. Can you list mistakes that marketers still do in your experience that we can avoid? For example, some mistakes we can learn from them, but some mistakes we can avoid by learning before doing something. So can you list such mistakes?
Yeah, sure. Let's see. Here's one that seems very simple, but it's sort of a symptom of things that go a little bit deeper. If you show up on a website and you see that the first thing on the main menu is about us, that's a mistake. Because nobody cares, at least not yet. So one of the things that I'm probably too fond of saying is nobody cares what you do. Yeah, your prospects don't care what you do. Your prospects don't even care what you can do for them. I'm messing this up. This is something that I say all the time. Your prospects don't care about what you do. Your prospects care about what you can do for them. So until you have made it clear to them what you can do, they're not interested in your credentials, where you went to college, how many years of experience you've got, how big your team is. All of that will matter, but not yet. So first, you need to focus on what it is you do and how you're going to help them, and then they'll dig deeper to make sure, sort of to validate the choice that they're making. And that's a very simple example, the placement of where the about section is on your main menu. But I bet if about is the first thing on your main menu, you're probably also going to be able to read through not just your website, but all of your marketing content and see a lot more sentences about me and our rather than you and your, where you really want to have that outward facing focus, that you really want to be writing your content, your marketing content from your prospect's perspective. So I would say that is the biggest mistake that we see, and one that really can have the biggest negative effect.
Nice. Yeah. I often see similar mistakes on LinkedIn when companies create profiles, selfish profiles, and most profiles are selfish. These companies or people don't care about their customers because they usually share how they are great. Nobody cares how you're great. Everyone wants great. So if you, the main goal is to highlight how you can make your customers great, your customer hero. So yeah, I couldn't agree more.
Yeah, great very insights. Well put.
And yeah, I often review such profiles and tell them, please remove all this information and highlight how you can help, support.
Right.
Andrew, I want to ask about your experience. What I usually found that I usually get great results with customers who understand what I do. So if they understand, then we can go ahead like a cohesive team. We know why we need to create high quality content, why it's important to think more about traffic value than getting more traffic. Many different insights. But if my customers don't understand, I tell them, go to YouTube, go to Google, take my course, take other course, just learn, get the basic. If you have the basic, we can go ahead. It's the same like if someone wanna lose weight, the best coach can't help you if you don't know why you need to eat healthy food, why you need to drink water, to go to gym, many different insights. So you need to help experts to lose weight. So let's imagine you started today from scratch without any experience, knowledge, skills. It's your first day in content marketing, website improvements. What will you do today if you started from scratch?
Wow, what a daunting prospect, having to start over from the beginning.
Yeah.
I think, and this is an interesting thing in post COVID times, but I would certainly try and seek out mentors, folks who I could, sit at their elbow and learn from. Hopefully, provide some value to them in the process. But learning how others are doing things, and trying to do it in a way that you're getting varied perspectives, not just the way that one person at one company does things, but how different people are doing things. So perhaps it's not just sitting at someone's at someone's elbow, being mentored, but also really paying attention to what other people are doing and try and figure out, what did that look like from the inside? Why did they make these choices? What were they trying to solve for? It's not just, hey, they put this great content out there and it's gotten a lot of attention because it was very, it just went viral. It was very quotable. But why? What was their goal? I think that might be where I start. But boy, that sounds like a tough day, first day.
Yeah, love it. And my final question about the future. Can you take your crystal ball and forecast what kind of future will be in content marketing? Because we have AI today. Uh, Apple is going to launch a headset. Probably augmented reality will come. I don't know. So many things can change, but people are the same. Like in marketing books, human psychology is the same, but we need to find the way how to entertain them, to share value, to sell products. So forecast what kind of future will be and how we can adapt to this possible future.
As AI has grown so quickly over the last, it grew so quickly in just a couple of months, and in the last few months, it's just continued that growth. I'm really torn between seeing the possibility for two different futures. One that is so much more technology driven, with AI really seeping into every area of culture, quite honestly, not just marketing. And the other end of the spectrum, where there's finally pushback. Personalization is a great thing and in marketing, and it's also kind of creepy, right? Like, you go to a website looking to buy a new ladder, and then for the next 3 months, every ad you see when you're surfing around the web is for ladders. There ought to be a button I could click to say, hey, I already bought the ladder. Stop sending me these ads. But in one way, I'd rather see ads for ladders, something I am, or at least was interested in, than in ads for, shampoo. I don't use a lot of shampoo. So it's, I think that there could be pushback in that direction, especially as AI becomes more invasive, and certainly it has the potential to be problematic. It's also fascinating just how useful it has become already. So I'm sorry, I'm going to hedge my bets and say we might end up in a world where things are so automated, it will be hard for us to recognize what they're like, or a world where we've gone much more retro, and the human touch is going to be all the more important.
Nice, awesome, love it, Andrew. It's a big pleasure to get on my show, to learn from you. I love it, so valuable. Tell the best way how to keep learning from you, how to reach out to you, how to follow you.
Yes, andigo.com, ANDIGO. That's the place you'll find the most about us. I'm on LinkedIn as Andrew Schulkind. There is an Andy Schulkind who is a cousin of mine, but he's not me. Those are the two places you'll find the most about me, but I'm also pretty easy to find on a Google search for podcast appearances like this. My book, Marketing for Small B2B Businesses, is out and available on Amazon. Probably easiest to search my name on Amazon. That's where you'll find me.
Nice. Give more insights about your book because I love reading books. It's my loving format. But you know, I can't read a teeny percent of all great books that we have today. Many great books. Uh, can you give me and my audience uh, benefits that we can get from your book? So why we need to read your book? What kind of value we can get by reading your books? Because for me it's important, to learn from books. I get the best ideas from books. So any
Yes.
tips?
Absolutely. So the book is called Marketing for Small B2B Businesses. And the subtitle is, which I have to read it because it's so long, How Content Creates Marketing Muscle and Powers Traditional and Digital Marketing. I don't want to say it's an overview for that because that makes it sound like it's just marketing 101, but it goes from everything from a marketing mindset and how to make sure you're in the right mindset to really create the kinds of value that your audience is going to respond well to, all the way through very detailed things, very specific actionable things like creating landing pages and lead magnets. So it's definitely for B2B businesses and for small B2B businesses. And it is written, I think, accessibly enough that even if you haven't gotten started in marketing yet, it will be easy for you to understand and take value from.
Nice. Awesome. Guys, you can find the link to this book, to the website, to LinkedIn account in the description below. I recommend to anyone to follow Andrew on LinkedIn because you can see a lot of value. I'm going to read this book. I recommend to anyone to read it to get more value. Thanks again, Andrew. It's a big pleasure. Love it. So valuable. Thanks, guys, for listening and watching us.